Hello everyone and welcome back to Nathrandyr's Guide to Everything. Today we have another character creation build for you for the mighty dwarf of Mithril Hall, Bruenor Battlehammer, and one of the companions to go along with our previous heroes of Drizzt and Cattie, and finally very soon we should have Wulfgar the Barbarian as well. Just before we get into the video, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the support. Recently the channel's doing really well, it exceeded all my expectations so far. As this video is going live, we just hit 61 subscribers now. I was going to say 60, but it is now 61, and 1,000 views. Our reach is up by like 400%. I'm posting all the statistics and stuff on my Instagram. You can find that at Nathrandyr's Guide. I'll put a little thing along here somewhere. We don't have that many followers over there now, but I thought I'd just get a presence out there just so you guys have somewhere to kind of keep up with what I'm doing. I post teasers for what videos are coming up next and things like that. So if you want kind of the inside scoop, then that might be the place to go. But as well as thank you, I just wanted to say hello to all you people that aren't subscribed. I would really appreciate if you did leave a like, a comment, or subscribe if you like the video. It really helps me out as a small channel just trying to grow. Basically, I can see that statistically in the last 28 days the not subscribed people watching this video are 84.9% of my total viewers. Only 15% of you are subscribed. So join us over here in the D&D world. If that's why you're here, I don't know. My Castlevania videos are pulling in a lot of my views. So if you're a Castlevania fan, try D&D. This may be the time. But yeah, I won't rant on anymore. Let's get into Bruenor Battlehammer. Let's build this guy. Okay, so you know where to go. We're going to go straight to my characters, and we have Bruenor at 2 levels of play. Once again, the hero and the master tier. That's a level 9 and level 16 this time around, because we actually didn't have as many homebrew items to make. So I'll just show you what I've done here. And Bruenor is a pretty simple build as well. So first we chose Mountain Dwarf, or you might see the term Shield Dwarf thrown around. What they do actually mean there is Mountain Dwarf. It is the same thing. They have Dark Vision as they would, Dwarven Resilience, which is resistance against poison. We also get Dwarven Combat Training, which is proficiency with Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Lighthammer and Warhammer. If we didn't already have that, we have actually chosen a fighter, so it doesn't really matter too much, but still. Tool Proficiency, we've gone with a Smith, because Bruenor was known for being a Smith as well. He forged some of the really good weapons across the whole group. I believe he forged Wulfgar's Hammer, Aegis Fang, I think, which we'll get to in a later video. We also get Stone Cunning, which is intelligence on history checks to kind of see the origins of stone and things like that, as well as Dwarven Armor Training. So out the gate we have light and medium armor, and this is similar to something that Matthew Mercer did in the latest Exandria Unlimited series, which is a very large, I guess, D&D stream that I recommend you guys go to watch if you don't know what it is. He's actually playing a Divine Soul Sorcerer, but he has Dwarven Armor Training, so he gets around one of the weaknesses of being a wizard or a sorcerer is the low AC. You have proficiency in armor, so he kind of gets around that. It's really quite a powerful build and really fun. So that's why we picked a Mountain Dwarf. The +2 con and +2 strength out the gate as well. Super powerful for a fighter especially. So we're starting him at level 9, and this is right up to the point at which Bruenor actually does pass away. He is reincarnated as well, just like cattie-brie in our last video. So we're going to kind of do a before and after once again. So this is a level 9 starter. We have athletics and perception as our proficiencies, and Bruenor actually was a king, so I feel like he would be fairly perceptive, and actually how I've pumped the ability score improvements kind of represents that a little bit as well, I think. For our fighting style, we've gone with defense, so while we're wearing armor, which we will always be, we get a +1 bonus to AC, no negatives there. Second wind, we can heal ourselves in combat. Action surge, we get a bonus action on a turn, the standard fighter, so we've done a lot of fighters recently. We've gone for the Martial Archetype Battle Master, because that is him. That is truly what he does. He's a king, he's a master tactician and a master in combat as well, so it just fits him perfectly. So with Battle Master we get combat superiority, and those for you beginners out there, this gives us superiority dice, which means we can flavor our attacks as something else using a resource we have called superiority dice, and I'll show you what that looks like now. We also gain proficiency in another tool. I went leather workers to lean more into that armor working, because he makes weapons and armor and things like that, so I thought that made sense. We've also gone with, so the maneuvers I've chosen. First up, I've got menacing attack, which attempts to frighten the target that you hit. You can also do a bit of extra damage to them, make a wisdom saving throw. We have commanding presence. When you make a charisma intimidation check and a charisma performance check or charisma persuasion check, you can expend 1 superiority die and add that superiority die to the ability check. And now this, for me, could go in the way of, if you're facing down an enemy, you're trying to intimidate them, you go, I am the king of Mithril Hall, Bruenor Battlehammer. You can go for an intimidation check or performance, whichever you do. My voice is not the best. Or if you're just trying to rally your troops, this could be like a good persuasion check. If you're like taking on a leadership role within the group, this could be a good one to do. And again, this is all theoretical. This is meant to inspire your characters, not necessarily make Bruenor, unless that's like a one-shot you're doing or something, because that could be really fun. Regardless, we're going into precision attack, which is our third one. When you make a weapon attack roll against a creature, you can expend 1 superiority die to add it to the roll. So essentially it just means we're more likely to hit. If we know something that has a particularly high AC, or we really need to land an attack, this is the way you're going to do it. We also have riposte. When a creature misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction and expend 1 superiority die to make a melee weapon attack against the creature. If you hit, you add the superiority die damage to the attack roll, and that's a pretty consistent extra thing that goes on top of most of these maneuvers. But riposte is really fun. It just means we can get some extra damage in, even if they're not going to move away from us outside of our turn, and our damage is going to be pretty damn good, so that's always beneficial. And finally, at level 9, we have gone with a triple tack. A triple tack? I don't know what I just said. A trip attack. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend 1 die to attempt to knock them down, giving obviously all the rest of your attacks advantage on your next turn or whenever that might be, because they can't stand up till theirs. So super powerful. They make a strength saving throw to save against it. We got martial versatility at level 4, which is a bonus thing from Tasha's. It just means we can replace our fighting styles, really. Ability score improvement, the first one at 4th level, we actually went for a feat. We went for Sentinel. Like I said, he is a battle master, a master tactician. When you're playing a character like this, you need people to be in front of you. You don't want to let them escape. You need to keep them nearby. So this is really useful for exactly that. Sentinel, again, for the beginners, you don't know what it does. If someone tries to run away from you, you can take an opportunity attack and then they can't move. It's really good. And even if they take disengage, you can still do that. It was really powerful against slippery characters like rogues and such. At 5th level, we get an extra attack. At 6th level, we get an ability score improvement. So I went for a double into strength, which I believe takes us to our max in that, because that's our highest stat out the gate. We also get Know Your Enemy at 7th level. So you can, before combat, I really like this feature, and I haven't really looked at it much before, I don't really sure why. If you spend at least 1 minute observing or interacting with another creature outside of combat, you can learn its capabilities compared to your own. So you get to pick 2 things, and your DM has to tell you whether it's equal, superior, or inferior. This can give you a really good idea on how to defeat an enemy or what they're particularly good at. Usually it's obvious with like the size of the creature, like a giant is strong, shocking, but this could give you a fun idea, especially armor class, into what you're up against out the gate. And equally then at 8th level, the ability score improvement is a double into wisdom, because I think just over the years, as I guess Bruenor expanded his mind, at first he was untrusting of magic, and then he learnt to trust that a little bit, and he was untrusting of Drizzt and all that kind of towards the beginning, but he did grow as a person across his life. And like I said, he was a king. Like, you don't be a king unless you're wise, or at least unless you grow to be wiser, I don't think. And he was the 8th, 10th and 13th king of Mithril Hall, which is really cool. Multiple kings. I don't even know how that works. We have Indomitable at level 9, which means you can re-roll a saving throw. So, for more of the fun stuff, we take a look at the statistics. So, the maximum we went for, the highest one, this is a heroic set of scores again, so 18, 16, 14, 12, 12 and 10. To reiterate, we went for Constitution, 18, because he was said to be ridiculously tanky, is all I could find on all of the different kind of Wikipedias from him in different settings. He hasn't been covered outside of, I think it was 3rd edition or 3.5. He hasn't been depicted really outside of that, only artwork wise, not really statistically. So we've gone for 18 in Constitution, 16 in Strength, 12 in Dex, 10 Intelligence, 12 wisdom, and 14 charisma. I feel like he needs a little bit of charisma in some capacity. He's a dwarf, but I don't feel like he's the stereotypical dwarf. He is stubborn, but equally he learned not to be. And then the reincarnation, being a chosen champion of the dwarven gods and things like that, I think it would pay off for him essentially. I think he is wise. He's also definitely very strong and very tanky. So background wise, we went with knight. I couldn't find much else other than that. I thought maybe noble, but I actually thought knight is almost noble with the added benefit of being, I guess, a fighter, and that's kind of what he is. There is no king background, unfortunately, and I could have made a custom one, but I thought this fit quite well, so I figured what's the point. We went with skill proficiencies in history and persuasion. Tool proficiency with the dice set because, you know, why not? Languages, we went with undercommon just because I believe he would have spent a lot of time with Drist learning the language of the Drow. Another reason why I picked knight just because I guess the name of him is quite famous, and that's kind of part of it. He is a noble, but he's also a fighter. Okay, now, so jumping into the character sheet, I'll show you a few things about some homebrew items I've made and some ones where I've taken inspiration from and things like that. So because of our standard bonuses, we actually start at level 9. We have 20 strength and 20 constitution out the gate. I mean, just bonkers, right? Really, really good at level 9 to have 2 stats at 20, and then we've got a great spread across the board. Again, this is a heroic stat block, so I expected it to be. I'm just always surprised by how good these things look. So at level 9 we have 5 superiority dice that we can use. I won't go into all the details of the Battlemaster because we kind of covered that a little bit at the start and with our other classes. I'll just get straight to the fun stuff. So as you can see, our armor class is 24, which is pretty damn good at any level really. So taking a look at our inventory now, we have a couple of hand axes kind of thrown in there, and I'll just go by rarity here. So what I've done is I've actually taken, I believe this is a vicious weapon. He was said to carry this single bladed battle axe that he usually used with one hand but had the option of two. He's a kind of not a sword and board, I guess an axe and board kind of guy. Always had a shield, always wearing plate armor and this battle axe, but it was said to be notched from how much it had been used, basically like loads of kind of dents and chunks taken out of it, but it's still said to have a very nice cutting edge. The difference is with Bruenor's, this battle axe is not only a vicious one, so it doesn't allow them to regain hit points, it was also silvered. It was enchanted to be silvered and a magical weapon. There's not much more to say about it at this level. He wasn't a huge, I guess, kind of snazzy item guy like Drist was, with Gwenhavar figures and unicorns and swords pulled from dragon hordes and things like that. He kind of was a self-made dwarf, it seems. I've equipped him with dwarven plate because I feel like he's a king, he would have the best. This is the best that the dwarf race has to offer armor wise. It's a standard +2 to AC on top of everything else that we have, on top of all the stacking that we have. It's incredible. And if something tries to move you, you can use your reaction to reduce that distance, so you're just a bulwark basically. You cannot be moved. Next up we have a homebrew item that I've created, so feel free to search for this on D&D Beyond. By the time this video goes live, it will be live on D&D Beyond with any spelling mistakes taken out and such. This is the Battlehammer Brew Shield, and this is a +1 magical shield to start with, a regally adorned, well-worn Battlehammer shield emblazoned with the signature foaming mug of the Battlehammer clan, plated with silver. And this all comes from the lore that I found about him. All his things were essentially plated with silver towards the end of his life, when he was, I guess, when he was in his prime. But he was said to be able to pull pints of ale from the back of the shield and drink them, and they had like restorative properties for him and his allies. And taking a note from the game as well, he has almost like an aura where he slams his shield, like this inspirational moment. And the Dark Alliance game, this is the new one, and he kind of heals things in the air and cleanses them of any debuffs, so I wanted to lean into that as well. So while wielding this shield, that should say while attuned actually, I think, both I guess. As an action, you can conjure a pint of fine ale. You can drink the ale as part of this action, or hand it to another creature to drink within 5 feet of you. You regain 4d4 plus 4 hit points when you drink the pint. Additionally, a creature that drinks the ale can either can end either one disease or one condition afflicting it. The condition can be blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned. This property cannot be used until the next dawn. So once a day, you get a greater healing potion for all intents and purposes, and that's pretty damn good, especially if you're trying to stay in the fight. Those hit points could be a saving grace, and if you just fancy a pint, it's also always there. I think I would love, personally, a shield that did this, but you know. But yeah, that's the Battlehammer Brew shield, so nothing too crazy, but a really good, I was going to say utility, but it's not. It's a healing option for you and your allies. Stay on the battlefield, get unparalyzed, all these things. You can help yourself and your teammates out with it and just pull all the attention so that the enemy has to try and deal with you. And last up, we have Bruenor's one-horned helm, the famous helmet that he wears with the one horn and the other one is broken. I realize I didn't change the portrait. I will do that before we get to the master version. This is just one I found on it. It looks like him, very much like him in fact. But anyway, I'm rambling. A battered and regal one-horned helm that carries the history of the 8th and 10th king of Mithril Hall. Branding Smite. You can cast Smite from this helm. Once used, this property cannot be used until the next dawn. That's it. Following all the conditions of Branding Smite, you can have it gleam with an astral radiance. As I said, it was enchanted by the gods beforehand. His axe was specifically. He was a blessed king. He was devout and, well, not, I guess, divine in a sense. He was a chosen champion, and it should reflect that. His helmet is one of the most famous parts about him, and with this you can channel the power of all the dwarven gods, or all the might of the dwarven race behind you, and you can smite something into oblivion. Its actual effect: the weapon gleams with a radiant strike, and the attack deals an extra 2d6 radiant damage to a target, which becomes visible if it is invisible and sheds some light as well. So that about does it for the level 9 Shield Dwarf Mountain Dwarf Fighter Bruenor Battlehammer, the King of Mithril Hall, 8th and 10th King of Mithril Hall. This is the hero tier of play. Let's move on to the Master, where it gets a bit crazier. Okay, welcome back. Here we are in the Master tier version of Bruenor Battlehammer. I have changed the icon to represent him in his full furiosity. Like I said, this is the Master tier. Not too much has changed. We haven't multi-classed or anything this time around. This guy's just a level 16 fighter. Monstrous. Let's take a look at what's changed. So at 10th level, all our superiority dice from being a Battle Master turn to D10s instead of D8s. Equally, we've got a ton more maneuvers as well. So before we just had we went all the way up to trip attack. We've now got fainting attack as well. So we can use a bonus action to feint, choosing a creature within 5 feet of you as your target. You have advantage on your next attack roll against that creature this turn. So it just allows you to get advantage against any creature you want. Incredible. Why would you not do that? Maneuvering attack. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend 1 superiority die to maneuver one of your comrades into a more advantageous position. You add the superiority die to the attack's damage roll, and you choose a friendly creature who can see or hear you. That creature can use its reaction to move up to half its speed without provoking opportunity attacks from the target of your attack. So you maneuver around an enemy, unleash an attack, and your allies perhaps get the chance to come in or move away, whatever it might be. You just maneuver around the battlefield. Really, really useful. Grappling Strike is really fun. I believe at this level, because we now have expertise, we have a plus 15 to athletics. Not many creatures are going to be able to break a grapple if you have plus 15 to athletics. So we went with Grappling Strike. Immediately after you hit a creature with a melee attack on your turn, you can expend a superiority die to try and grapple that target as a bonus action, contested with your athletics check. So if you want to lock a creature down, this is the way to do it. And I don't think anything can get out. And finally we have Bait and Switch, which I really, really like the sound of. I think it seems quite fun. Situational, definitely, but quite fun, and goes along with Bruenor just taunting and being on the front line kind of thing, taking all those hits. When you're within 5 feet of a creature on your turn, you can expend a die and switch places with that creature, provided you spend at least 5 feet of movement and the creature is willing and is incapacitated. So this doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. You can get your teammate out of danger if something's on them. You also roll the superiority die, and until the start of your next turn, you or the other creature, your choice, gains a bonus equal to the AC of the number rolled. Really good. I think that's fantastic. Again, very situational. There's probably going to be better things to do in the moment, but I feel like this could come in clutch at a really solid moment. And that bonus to AC could be huge. It could be a D10. Like, we could be up to like over 30 AC. Pretty bonkers. So continuing on, at 11th level we get an extra attack. At 12th we get the ability score improvements come thick and fast here. But for another double into wisdom, just because we are now the 13th king of Mithril. Remember, this is his resurrected state, this champion of the Dwarven gods. And then for his second to last ability score improvement at level 14, I actually went with skill expert, for which we went with proficiency in insight, expertise in athletics, and then one buff into wisdom again. So this is just being more attuned to his role. Insight, he's a king. He needs to be able to read people. And if he didn't have it by the time he was resurrected, I feel like he would now. He's lived an entire lifetime and knows what to look out for. And athletics, I mean, he's going to be as strong as ever, right? At 15th level, we get Relentless. If we roll initiative and we have no superiority dice, you regain 1 words. Really good in a pinch. Not the most powerful of abilities, but it makes sense and it gives you something to do in a pinch if you get caught out. And finally, at 16th level, this one is actually inspired by another one of the characters in this series that we probably won't cover because there's a lot less about them from what I could find. But Bruenor Battlehammer had a trusted advisor called Regis. He was a halfling. He was with him for his whole life, and I think this is kind of a nod to halfling luck. They can't roll ones for all intents and purposes. We went with the lucky feat, and I feel like this would just round this character out beautifully. If we ever happen to miss a grapple with our ridiculous rolls, we can just re-roll it instead. The other option for this, and what you could do if you're going to be on the front line, you're taking a lot of hits. If you're solo out there, you could take the tough feat. I think that would have made sense as well, and it increased my hit points at this level by like 40 or something ridiculous. So tough is a fantastic feat as well. It takes your level, doubles it, adds that to your health, and you gain 2 every level on top of what you normally would as well. So really good, but this one specifically inspired by another character, just a little nod to the halfling luck. So now jumping back into the character sheet, now we've gone over all that, a quick overview of the new statistics. We're at 17 wisdom now. It would be great to get to 18, but maybe by the time we reach level 20 that would happen, I would imagine. We're not going to do that today though, unfortunately. 16 is where we're stopping for Bruno. Athletics, as you can see, a crazy 15. Let's roll a dice, why not? Look at that, 25 from a 10, just ridiculous. Our passive perception has gone up, and this is why I wanted to bump wisdom a little bit, just to give him something there as well, like in his passive abilities. His perception and insight both looking great now at +8. And so the story goes with Bruenor's equipment that his helmet was imbued with life drain after it was enchanted again by the gods and made even more powerful, along with his axe, which was dubbed the Flame Tongue. And now Flame Tongue is a famous series of weapons, a Flame Tongue sword specifically, I believe. There hasn't been an axe recorded other than Bruenor's, I don't think, in the official material. A Flame Tongue sword is essentially a weapon that can be lit on fire, a magic weapon that can be lit on fire. This is a pretty beastly version of that. But to just go over it quickly, the Dwarven plate is exactly the same as before. The Battlehammer brew shield in one arm just to heal us up, keep us out on the battlefield. We've also added in this inner life helm, which is a upgraded version, I guess, of the one-horned helm from the previous one. It's was said to, here we go, I've even got the description, don't know why I'm guessing. A battered and ruby encrusted, there was said to be 2 rubies right in the centre there. One-horned helm, enchanted by the Dwarven gods themselves. Typo, I'll fix it. It carries the history of the 8th, 10th and 13th king of Mithril Hall, Bruenor Battlehammer. You can still cast Branding Smite from it to give that a radiant punch, and we also have a life drain ability now as well. When you hit a creature with a melee attack, that target's hit point maximum is reduced by amount equal to the slashing damage taken. You regain hit points equal to that amount. The reduction lasts until the target finishes a long rest, or they are the target of the Greater Restoration spell. The target dies if its hit point maximum is reduced to 0. This is incredibly powerful. I can't even fathom. It's crazy, but this is however many times you want. Whenever you hit anything, you can do this. And when I read it, I couldn't believe it. But again, this is it. He was known for his just super, what's the word? His demigod levels of constitution. He just wouldn't go down. I think this represents that perfectly. It's no surprise that any slashing damage he deals with the axe just heals him. So you have to really work hard to defeat this guy, because his damage output's going to be crazy as well, with like 3 or 4 attacks. You have to do a lot of damage to take him down. And finally, to kind of round out the character, we have this very rare and flavoured Flame Tongue Battle Axe. So again, same flavour text. This is a silvered, single-bladed axe. Was wielded by the 8th, 10th, 13th King of Mithril Hall, Bruenor Battlehammer. We know that now. Enchanted in Gauntlgrim by the Dwarven gods themselves, along with his famous one-horned helm. And this was happened at the same time. This is a +3 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon. You can use the command word to make it shed fire from it, and it does an extra 3d6 fire damage as opposed to the normal 2d6, and that is why this is an artifact level item. This thing is damn powerful and basically impossible to get hold of unless you find his resting place. Good luck. Blessings of the Gods is the main feature of this. While attuned to this weapon, you gain the following effects. You are immune to poison damage, you are resistant to fire damage, you are immune to exhaustion, you have proficiency with smith tools, and have advantage on all ability checks made using them. So we already had the smith tool proficiency, but this is attunable by anybody, not just a dwarf like the helmet. So this gives you proficiency and advantage on all ability checks using them. You are immune to poison damage now, not just resistant, and immune to exhaustion. Constitution is a test of your resolve. You never waver if you hold this axe. You embody Bruenor Battlehammer's entire, his physique and his charisma. It becomes you if you hold this axe. But that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, please like, comment and subscribe if you can. If you can spare a subscribe for a small channel, please help us out over here. But yes, leave a comment with any videos you want me to cover in future. We had a fantastic suggestion for the Hero of Time, or multiple heroes, Link from the Zelda series, and I'm working on that now, and there's so many options. I'm kind of baffled, really. It's going to be a few videos, I think, a little mini series around Zelda, but I'm working on that currently, as well as the final one in this series for Wulfgar the Barbarian, so we'll see where that takes us. Like I said, this has been Nathrandir's Guide to Everything. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.